All right, today we're going to get to a repair that's been on my desk for a while because I don't think that it's really worth putting a lot of time into this, and I'll tell you why. Let's start with a note. So I'm looking here in Repair Shopper, and I will read this to you. This is my daughter discovered her iPhone 6 Plus. It's not a 6 Plus, but my daughter discovered her iPhone 6 Plus bricked one morning after a night on the charger. The power cord was a non-Apple power cord plugged into an Apple USB power adapter. She had complained of having to charge the phone multiple times before this event. The local iPhone repair store attempted to repair a phone by replacing screen, battery, unable to revive the phone. They sent the phone to another company for a more technical level of repair. After a month, they sent the phone back, not fully operational. So now it will continually boot loop until the battery is fully exhausted and it will not charge using the Apple USB charger and cord. Fix it. And then, I looked at it, wrote back and said, this is a train wreck. And he said that he wants data recovery and he would like to show his daughter, my 17 and 13-year-old daughters, what goes into repairing my 17-year-old's iPhone, to make it into some sort of lesson learned type event instead of just, I'll just tell Dad to fix it type of story. Is that possible? So I agreed to do this video because I am a big fan of teaching girls to repair, and I love the idea of some kids getting to look inside their phone and see what the deal is, especially because this really doesn't look like, hey, this phone just died on my nightstand. And so let's take a look at the board. All right, so to start with, this phone is not an iPhone 6 Plus. This is an iPhone 6S, and I'm trying to think why you would think it was this is a straight up iPhone 6S. So let's take a look at the board itself, and we'll kind of start over here in the corner. Now we can see that this is, I guess we'll call this liquid damaged, but it's really unclear whether or not it started out like this or if this is kind of repair damage. That's really hard to know because we have oxidation on both sides of all of these components. You can get this kind of appearance from actual water damage or from letting a phone sit in alcohol or sit with flux on it for a long period of time. Either way, kind of now it's liquid damage. So liquid damage, and then as we look around here, now this to me does look like bona fide actual water damage because if we look on these caps, when you see one side of a cap is kind of in better condition, shinier, and the other side is heavily oxidized, that's what happens when you have electricity and water on a board combining. It kind of electroplates the sort of power side of the cap, and the ground side of the cap stays okay. So this board, we will say, did have native liquid damage. Here you can see the same thing. This cap had liquid damage. Now the rest of these that are kind of just dull everywhere, that's from leaving a board in alcohol for a long period of time, or leaving it in a jewelry style ultrasonic cleaner for a half hour, leaving it in some kind of liquid for way too long. All right, so we can see this sort of like general just poor condition of the board from liquid damage. And then we get down here, and now remember, the thing that drives me crazy is that this phone went to a repair shop who sent it to another repair shop who sent it back as this can be a phone again, this is a working phone. And their complaint is that it wasn't fully functional. So this was intended, somebody worked on this and said, sure, it's gonna be a phone again, here you go. So you can see that somebody has been here and they were ripping caps off left and right around here. So this is them trying to look for a VCC main short, but not all of these are VCC main caps. So that means they were kind of like taking caps off pretty randomly, which really doesn't make sense. All right, we'll flip it around to see a little bit better. And there is a replacement TriStar on this board, which does make sense given the symptoms. And just a whole lot of just really bad damage. This really shouldn't be a phone again, for sure. All right, let's see. Let's continue on down here, and you can see some missing caps here. These are VCC main caps, so the main power rail. Somebody was at one time thought that there was a short. I don't know if there was actually a short on this main power rail or not, but somebody was trying to troubleshoot a short on that rail. And then we get over here to the Tigris area. This is the actual charging chip of the phone, and there's like not much left. Some of these caps are really are required for Tigris to function that are just missing. I mean, everything's missing. That's really can't be a phone again. This just drives me crazy. All right, and then we'll look and see where's the MOSFET. So there's a component here that's supposed to connect battery VCC and VCC main, and it is missing. And then somebody has left a wire to kind of hardwire the two sides of it together, which is fine for troubleshooting, but not to send back out to somebody and be a phone again. All right, now let's look on the other side of the board. So there's quite a bit of missing components here. And you can knock off a capacitor when and leave it off when it is one of many and it is too technically challenging to put it back on, or if it's data recovery, you don't need to put it back on because you don't really need the phone to boot more than once. But to be a phone again, you really can't denude the board like your Agent Orange and just leave it like that and say, looks good enough, and send it out the door. All right, let's flip over to the other side. And there is, all right, so we're missing a bunch of stuff here. All right, so we're missing here, you can tell this is not a capacitor, this is some kind of a coil. We can't knock a coil off the board. That's an inline component. You're going to then, it's like washing out a drawbridge. You're gonna lose whatever function is on the other side of that line. More missing stuff, similar thing down here by the charge port. I mean, this charge port, this looks terrible. This is liquid damage. It can't become this damaged just from sitting in somebody's ultrasonic cleaner for way too long. Look at this. This is water got in the bottom of the phone. So this phone experienced liquid damage in the bottom of the phone. That's the kind of thing like if it drops in the toilet, rip it, pick it back up, and then you just kind of hold it up and water will kind of just drain to the bottom of the phone. You throw it in rice, which is a bad idea. It doesn't do anything. All it does is tempt you to do something like put it on a charger when it's wet, and then you get something like this. So this is very consistent with a phone that went in a sink. Toilet is super common, and then went in rice for no good reason, and then went on a charger. This is what these kinds of phones look like. All right, so we're missing components here that are not capacitors, so they are going to be required for some kind of headphone function or whatever goes through there. We'd have to look that up. So this the note says, hopefully you can fix this and it'll be a phone again. No way. That is absolutely not happening. Look at this. This shouldn't be a phone again. Even if it did work for a day, which it's not going to, this can't be a phone again. This is way too much of a rebuild. And if you see this much damage, this much water on a board, that means there's going to be mud under any chip here that has the capacity for water to get underneath it. That's not protected by some kind of underfill epoxy coating. All right, they took off VCC main caps around here. All right, I think it's time for us to start kind of just looking at the consequences of some of these things that are missing that are not capacitors. So what's this guy? Let's look him up and start kind of making a list of things that are definitely not going to work or couldn't be expected to work, starting with that guy. So let's do that. We're going to pull up ZXW, and this is for iPhone 6S. And on ZXW, we are looking at this guy. Okay, so we have VCC main is connected through this coil to PP arc switch, which goes to the other side of the board to this arc driver, which is the same chip as the speaker amp. And so that entire chip, this is its power source, is not going to work if that coil is not there, because that's how that chip gets power. So you know for sure that that function is certainly not going to work. Let's go and look at what else is missing that seems to not be a capacitor. I mean, it's so funny. This board has spent hours in alcohol and ultrasonic, but still got corrosion on it. Frank corrosion. All right, we are missing this chip entirely. So when you're missing a chip, you know, to kind of be a phone again, what does this chip do? So let's look that up in ZXW again. So we're going to look up that chip. So this chip over here is the Q-Poet chip, and whenever you see RF, that means radio frequency, something to do with cell service. So we can, you know, we could even look him up on the schematic, but that chip is going to ultimately, you can even kind of click on it and see what it does. But let's just kind of put it as this guy is going to be required for this phone to be able to make and receive phone calls. So it's part of the action of making phone calls, of being a phone. Can't have that guy gone off the board and still be a phone. Okay, and what else? So let's look back over here and see this coil guy that's missing and see what function is definitely not present because that guy's gone. So let's go back to ZXW and we'll click on that guy. So what does that guy do? That guy connects VCC main to the actual speaker amp. So this is for loudspeaker function. So you're not going to have any sound if that guy's not there. So here's your speaker amp chip over here. So he's essentially disconnected from the logic board, from the power source now, so he's not going to be working with that. I just can't believe that somebody sent this back out as, sure, this is a phone again. Might not be fully functional, but should be good to go. All right, and then also in this area, we can drill down here at the charge port and see, oh, this is just so bad, so damaged. All right, so we're missing this guy here, 1, 2, and then these 3 and 4 look pretty bad. Some of these joints on this connector here are cold. All right, so let's look up those guys on ZXW and see what's behind door number 3. All right, so we'll drill down over here and, all right, so this is a filter. All right, you can't knock off a filter without severing the connection between A and B. So this is AP, so CPU 2, HPHS3 control connector. I'm not sure what that is, but I'm going to guess headphones, just because HP sounds like headphones. There's a lot of headphone stuff that goes on that area. Same thing for this next guy. Lower mic to basically the audio control system. So both of those are gone, so you're going to lose the connection between your charge port microphone and your headphone jack. Definitely not going to work. And then we're missing a couple of these dudes here as well. Those you could probably get by without. All right, so this is already, you know, it's even, I would say it's too fatiguing to even catalog all of the things that are wrong with this board that we can see without even testing or trying to do anything to it. Just by looking with our eyeballs on this board, it is too laborious to even make a list of all the things that are wrong with this phone. So our goal is really not to make microphones and headphones and loudspeaker. We're going to give up on all of that. And that's why we would only look at a board like this for data recovery. And even that, I think, is a very remote and low chance, because I'm guessing this board has seen so much damage and it's been subjected to a lot of, you know, sitting on chargers and trying to boot and bad batteries, battery errors. I think that the chance that the data itself sitting in the flash memory chip is not permanently corrupted is very low. So I think that any work on this phone is almost certainly a giant waste of time. And that's why it was down at the bottom of my queue for a long time. So we will go ahead and you know, put some put some chips on the board that are required and see what happens. All right, so let's see. I'm going to check here at chat for a second. Greg says, I guess the second shop did all this damage to the phone. Does not sound like the first shop did any board level repairs to the phone. Yes, so let's see. So let's go back here to the worst of the damage. So we know that we have a whole lot of damage around the Tigris chip, and we know that the Tigris chip is required to boot. So we are going to change the Tigris chip, especially because of the complaint of charging. We are going to change TriStar. We're going to take off this really damaged ARC driver chip, and we're going to change the baseband power management chip. So that's what we're going to do just based on this physical damage before we even kind of see what kind of a state this phone is in. And my guess is that from the note, this is a boot looping phone. It really has no chance of booting right now. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do all that, and then we're just going to see what's up with this phone. I guess I will show you guys what it would look like on DC power supply. So this phone is either going to be boot looping or it'll be in DFU mode. It will have software corruption. So let's go ahead and just kind of to build out our experience base on what do phones look like that don't have a short circuit. I don't think this is going to have a short anywhere. I think that somebody's been killing themselves to make sure it doesn't have any shorts by ripping everything off the board. I doubt it has any shorts, but let's see. So let's go click over to the hand camera so that you guys can see right here, DC power supply, what happens when we connect this board to power. All right, so I've connected it to the DC power supply, which is putting that voltage, pushing a voltage into the phone, which this is normal, shouldn't do anything as long as the phone is not sort of prompted to boot. So now we're going to go ahead and prompt this phone to boot and see what happens to the DC power supply current consumption. All right, so we're going to tell this phone to boot. So we're saying boot, boot, boot. All right, so this is how this phone is attempting to boot right now. All right, so that is a boot loop. See, it clicked all the way. It looks fairly normal, Thinking around, trying to do stuff, that looks normal, normal. Maybe it's booting. Maybe it's going to be okay. Up, low, 0. That's a boot loop. So it shouldn't ever drop all the way down to 0. So if we were to put a screen on this, even if it were able to produce image, this phone is boot looping. It's not going to be able to boot. So why is it boot looping? Most likely, right now, it's most likely boot looping because of software corruption from living with this kind of massive damage to the board. When that happens, even after you correct hardware problems, you still have to then have it update and correct that underlying software corruption. It's really hard for a phone to do that when it kind of fills up with all sorts of errors, and that's what would be required in order to make this phone boot. But it's not necessarily impossible, so we are going to go ahead and address those obvious hardware faults that would make it not able to boot, and then we'll see if it can pass an update, and then we'll give up. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start down here at the bottom with changing out this Tigris chip, which has certainly been done before because of the amount of work that's been in this area. But we have no choice but to replace it with our own chip because we can't guarantee, especially given the state of this phone, that whoever put this Tigris on here didn't bridge it together or make a bunch of problems. All right, so we'll see. I sure hope the customer never had to pay for this attempted repair from the other shops. I hope so as well. And I do think this is a really good lesson. The lesson here is this is water damage. And when you get your phone wet, that's okay. And initially, when you get your phone wet, there are some percentage of phones that water gets in the phone, but it doesn't actually hit the logic board at all. And those phones are going to, if you just kind of let them sit there and dry out, those are the phones that are going to just work again because water never hit the logic board. And so those phones are the ones that kind of perpetuate the rice myth, because people are like, oh no, I had a phone, I dropped it in there, and you know what? Put it in rice, came out working. No, it's because water never really hit the board. Rice didn't do anything. Water never hit the board. However, if you were to not put that phone in rice and just immediately open it up and look at it, you would see, oh look, the logic board is dry, a couple drops of water over here by the battery, paper towel, dry it out on the counter, put it back together, it's still going to be fine. The rest of the phones come in two flavors. One's where water did hit the logic board initially, so right out of the gate, water hit the logic board and it caused damage. In that moment, though, the damage is going to be very, very focal, very localized, just in one small area of wherever water hit the board. So in those phones, if you were to open them up right away, take that battery off so that you take away the electricity that's going to just corrode the board. In those phones, if you were to do microsoldering on them, it would be very focal. It would be, one chip, one bad spot. Just clear that bad spot. You could make that phone look like it never saw water, and it could go on to have a happy life. But you have to get that battery disconnected right away to kind of stop this sort of like extensive electroplating of the phone that happens when you stick it in rice and allow that entire battery voltage to just dump into, a short to ground on the phone. Here's the other kicker, and this is why rice is really, really bad. If you have a phone that went in water, and let's say it's in the category where water did not hit the logic board, meaning, if you just kind of opened it up right then, it would be totally fine. However, there's water inside there. There's water maybe sitting on the battery, a couple of drops by the ear speaker. On those phones, if you allow the water, if you pick that phone up and kind of turn it to the side and shove it in a bag of rice, a drop of water is going to roll. And if you just look right here, what's going to happen? Look at how this is very, very waterproof. There's coating all over this stuff. Look at that. That's all protected from water, except for right here. Right here, there is no protection. There's the brown board down there. See, all this is coating. Not right there. You can see all the way down to the bottom of the board. So the drop of water is going to fall down and drop right there and go under that chip, and that's where that water is going to short together your main power rail to ground and cause a short circuit. So if you didn't put your phone in rice, then that wouldn't happen. If you just opened it up, you could dry it out, and it would be like one of those ones where water never hit the board. So rice is a terrible thing because it makes repairable phones become unrepairable some of the time. All right, so let's go ahead and get a new Tigris to stick on here. All righty. Was Jessa on Good Morning America or something like that? Briefly, yes, I was. I was on Good Morning America like a couple weeks ago. We did a little kind of fun little story where they had some iPhone 10s, the iPhone X, iPhone 10, and they were, just kind of investigating is this really the most durable phone ever? So they threw the iPhone 10 off of a building, which was pretty cool. I mean, they did a couple of other small drops, a little 3-foot drop and a little 5-foot drop. But then this one phone dropped 3 stories, and then my job was to open the phones up after the fact, which I did in Lewis's shop, which was pretty fun. This whole thing was in New York City. And it was surprising that in the iPhone 10, after throwing it off a 3-story building, the only thing that was wrong with it was bad LCD and bad rear camera. But other than that, it booted up and was okay. So that was pretty cool. It was really fun, though, to just see what goes into making network TV. It's tons of legal stuff. And I just want to make sure I have my chip in the right orientation. Yep, I do, before I get it fully soldered on here. But it was really, really fun. All right. I saw Jessa on another YouTube channel called Motherboard. Yeah, about a year ago we did a little tiny documentary for Motherboard Vice. That was really fun. They came out. They were super nice. I made the producer fix her own phone. And if we end up doing another, we're kind of like in discussion to do another story with Good Morning America that I think will be a lot, kind of really beneficial for consumers. And I told the producer, if you come up here, make you fix your own phone. She has a cracked screen 6S is her personal phone. So I'm like, Sarah, you're gonna have to fix that yourself. That's part of the deal. All right, so we did Tigress. Let's go ahead and change out the baseband. I'm guessing they probably never changed this one, so it'll be interesting to see if there's any corrosion that's still under this. We don't know for sure that it's never been changed, but that would be my guess. All right, here we go. All right. And some guys on chat are fixing some laptops. All right, we're going to take off the baseband power management chip. Now this chip is required on the iPhone 6S. In the iPhone 6, it's not. And how do you figure this stuff out? Experimenting. All right, so it really looks like absolutely beautiful under there. So either that's a replacement chip, which I doubt, or else that's just kind of more evidence that water was really only in the bottom half of the phone to begin with, and the rest of this is just sat in an ultrasonic cleaner for way too long. All right, so we're gonna clean up all these balls. Alrighty. It was really fun doing the Good Morning America shoot though, because I had to call up Lewis and try to talk him into saying yes to, hey, can we come and just invade your shop? Because we need a location to take apart these iPhone Xs. And it's going to be during the middle of the day when you guys are kind of open for business. Your shop is kind of, doesn't have a whole lot of space for a bunch of people. So we're going to be bringing, 2 producers, 2 or 3 camera guys, the required labor union guy to be the person who's supposed to handle stuff. Becky Worley, the tech correspondent, plus me, we're gonna just come take over your shop. And I was surprised. He said, Steve says hell no, and but he said yes. So that was really fun. And then he, of course, tried to do all sorts of shenanigans with, putting funny little things in the, kind of on the side to be in the shot. But those camera guys, they were professionals and they were not having any of that. And they were quick to put the kibosh on his hijinks. But it was a good experience. It was really interesting just to see what kind of effort goes into making a 3-minute video on Good Morning America. It's crazy. I mean, the thing that was really just aggravating for all of us was that, after doing these drops, it would have been cool to say, okay, so, the little drops really didn't do anything at all. Dropped the iPhone X from 3 feet, it was totally fine. So it was kind of like boring. But we've got these iPhone Xs, so then it's like, well, then let's see what happens if we just kind of put one on the roof of the car and drive around the parking lot and see what happens. And they weren't allowed to do that. They were not allowed to do like a second drop to any of these phones because of legal stuff, which is like, what do you mean legal stuff? What are you talking about? And it was, well, let's say if we put a phone that had a 3-foot drop and then we put it on top of the car, came off the car, and then you held it up, you're like, look, this fell off the car, and insert conclusion here, it would be kind of scientifically not valid because that phone had previously experienced this little 3-foot drop. It's just like, seriously, it's so wasteful. And the phones they had to hang on to, they're required to legally to they can't give them away to somebody. These are $1,000 phones, 3 $1,000 phones. They couldn't just give them to, person in need because of legal reasons. They have to put them in a closet just in case there's some kind of, down the road legal complaint about the entire spot that they would have to then kind of drag this phone back out in order to kind of prove. All right, so we're going to put on a brand new waste of money here, sticking a brand new baseband power management chip on this phone, which is, in my opinion, very likely to be wasting money, but we're going to do a little Good Morning America on here and do it anyway. Okay, so alrighty, I think I'm going to check on that one. I don't replace this chip super often, so let's make sure that is going the right way. All right, this is, where's A1? All right, so the dot is right where I have it. All right, so what I'm doing here is just checking on ZXW the orientation of the chip itself to make sure that I don't put it on in the wrong orientation. So pad 1 or A1 on most of them, just 1 here is always going to be the dot on the chip, and on this one the dot on the chip corresponds to the exact place where I have it. So we're going to stick this guy back on here. All right, let's see. How many almonds do you consume to talk like this? What could that guy, let's play guess what that guy possibly means. I have no idea. What kind of almond? What does he mean? Can't think of anything. Can't think of anything. Alright, so let's get this chip on here. Now these Qualcomm baseband power management chips are the ones that are killing everybody in the iPhone 7. A little bit different than this one, but same deal. And they are kind of part of the fault line. Right, so I've got that tacked down, so I'm going to add some heat and see if he can settle himself into place. I'm really losing my mind with the prior repair attempts for data. The other phone that I looked at this morning, just missing all kinds of stuff. Missing the power management chip, missing Chestnut, missing Cumulus, missing Mason, missing all kinds of stuff, missing all kinds of caps that, it's not water damage, so none of this could have possibly been the problem. And then I look at it and see, somebody was assuming that it had a 1V8 line short, and so somebody just took off the EEPROM chip, threw it away. So no hope to get data because somebody just threw it away. Just driving me crazy. Driving me crazy. Now this phone originally almost certainly would have been able to be recoverable for data. But now I don't know. All right, so we're going to do the other required chip here. TriStar is required. So we will get that changed out. Get you noggin a joggin. Goes along with activate those almonds. What are you talking about? What's the almonds mean? Does it mean brain somehow? Spell it out. What's up with the writing Russian words all on the comments and on live chat? Surely you are aware that no one's going to be able to understand any of that. What you trying to say? Okay, let's see if we can find a new TriStar. Lewis should have cleaned up his desk for Good Morning America. That's pretty funny. I think he did. It looks pretty clean in there. His shop looks way better than it used to. I mean, it looks nice in there. It looks tidy, and I'm sure that is all thanks to Paul, who is an organizer, clean desk type. I've had this theory I've been saying, kind of a lot as I go around, sort of messy desk versus clean desk people, and just kind of your general approach to life. Messy desk people tend to be spontaneous folks that that kind of prioritize spontaneity and can often be fantastic logical thinkers, and they like to just kind of work very quickly following logic in an excited way. So that's what makes messy desk people good at board repair, because they can get to a solution without being fatigued with the requirement for really fastidious detailed work. Versus clean desk people, it will take them a really, really long time to, kind of get something done, so they can get frustrated and get fatigued and give up on something. But they do really, really clean work and are fantastic for any kind of problem that requires a high degree of technical proficiency. So I think that there's a place in board repair for both clean desk people who are planners and messy desk people. Just a different modus operandi. And so I think that Lewis has hired Paul. Paul seems to be a clean desk guy. Jason is a messy desk guy. And I think that, having different personality types in your shop is a really good way to be well-rounded. But you can definitely see the influence of Paul over there. All right, so now we have TriStar on. All right, so status report here. We have replaced our Tigris chip. Let's look at this. I think that this jumper is kind of okay for now. All right, let me look at some of these Tigris caps that are gone and see if I feel that any of them kind of have to be replaced in order for this thing to function. So let's go look over there at ZXW. All right, let's see. Awkward slides into his clean desk in the back of the class. Yeah, exactly. Messy desk. I I have different advice for clean desk people versus messy desk people. Clean desk people will struggle in different ways than messy desk. All right. And we had an example came up with a buddy of mine who was about to go to Australia for a work conference, and he's gonna stay with some colleagues that he knows there, and he's just like, oh, I don't know, you know, I really want to I want to do this like Airbnb thing, and I don't know if I should wait until after I'm there to figure out what I want to do, or if I should make a reservation now. I really want to make a reservation now. I'm like, well, this is like classic clean desk, messy desk, because the guy you're staying with is like, no, just wait till you get here. You know, there's all sorts of ideas. He's a messy desk type. You're a clean desk type. It's going to be really hard for you. All right, let's look and see. We are missing these two caps here, which are C2320 and C2321. So I'm going to dig up, hopefully, the schematic. Schematic for iPhone 6s. Let me find it. All right. Where is it? In here. iPhone 6s. Here we go. Okay, so let's see if there's even, I don't even know if there's a scene in here for schematics anymore. Does it work? All right, does that work? Is that schematics? Let's close that down. Boo. All right, let's just do screen then. All right, let's do this. All right, here we go. Schematic. Okay, so we are looking down here. All right, so Tigris. So U2300 is Tigris, and we're missing both of these, C2320 and C2321. So let's look up those guys. C2320. All right. So 2320, 2321, those are the big ones, 4.2 microfarad. And then we have these two little ones, C2322 and 2323. So these are called Tigris PMID. And if you look at them, what do? Well, I don't know, but here's Tigris, and they just kind of come out from Tigris and hang out over here, and then that's a dead end. There's no, it's not a line that continues anywhere else. So these are almost just like a some kind of an appendage of Tigris that just kind of hangs out outside of the chip. So when you have something like that, those capacitors are likely to be internal to the function of the chip, which means you can't just ditch them because they are doing something for the function of the chip. And you know, we could go talk to an electrical engineer and try to understand exactly what do they do. And there is a time you can find the Tigris data sheet and you can read all about these guys. But I don't think that you can just kind of leave them off, especially not if you're sending it back as this is a phone again. All right, so let's see what else is missing here. Let's go back to, let's get rid of this again. All right, let's see. So around here, these guys, yeah, so these guys are all missing. I don't know what these two little ones are, so let's look up these two little guys. This one, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that are missing, those are all okay to be missing. But and these are okay, these are USB-CC main caps. But let's look up these two little guys and that one. Yeah, we're missing all three there. All right, let's look it up. So ZXW window. All right, so this is one of the USB caps, and this is another PMID cap there. And then down here is a speaker boost cap, which we really don't care about now because the speaker boost has been disabled. All right, then over here we're missing this guy. All right, that's just another USB cap. That should be okay. All right. I think right now I'm going to check to see if there's any change on DC power supply before killing ourselves any further on this board. All right, let's do a check for is there any change on DC power. I'm also going to put a screen on it just to see if we have an image and see if it's boot looping and showing image or not. Let me just check to make sure there's a chestnut on here. There is. Oh, waste of time, waste of time. This phone is a waste of time. All right, let's see. Weren't all those caps on that line missing? If so, that line no longer has a path to ground. Well, one of them is not missing, but I think that it's a big deal, yes. But I also think that those are going to be for charging, and so I know that Tigris is required to boot, but I don't think it's required to, its charging function is required to boot. I just want to see whether or not this phone, or this, whether or not we have any difference here on our DC power supply signature with these changes that we've made. All right, because this is data recovery. If by some miracle it boots, then I don't want to do anything else to it. Get the data and be done. All right, let's see. All right, so we're gonna check to see if we get an image at all. All right, so prompting to boot with the power button. Let's get it to prompt. Prompt, 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 prompt. Prompt, prompt. I don't see it producing an image at all, which kind of points to, you know, it doesn't know what to do from a software perspective. Yeah, so it doesn't know what to do. All right, so let's see whether or not, let's clean up the charge port a little bit and see if it can sit in DFU mode or not. All right, let's get rid of this. All right, let's get the charge port. Oh my God, this is just a mess. It's all been soldered on. Blah. Oh my God. Okay, let's see. Oh my God, this phone kills me. Just such a waste of time. All right, so we are going to try to edit all these little cold joints here at the charge port just so that we can try and get this thing to connect to iTunes so that we can try to ask it to restore its software. All right, let's see. Ugh, just all of these joints are bad. All of these joints are bad. All right, now this is the actual native water damage, just the, you know, water in the bottom of the phone at the charge port. That's a common spot. We're just gonna reflow these little suckers so that they're not cold.
So chip was pulled on this one. Mark got the chip off, but he's not able to read it. So we put some more time into this. I don't know if there was software correction that damaged the chip or not, but chip is off, it's in the reader, but it's not seeing any information. So we can keep working on it, but nothing as of yet. Okay? You got it, John. I'll talk to you as soon as I have some good news for you.
All right, looking around if there's anything else I need to do while I'm here. Looking around.
What was I supposed to do? Tell me, remind me what I was supposed to do.
All right, just to rule out variables, let's get a couple of these guys back on here.
Which one do you want?
Even though I can't see that making a difference. I think its primary problem now is software corruption. So it's just a question of whether or not we can get it to detect iTunes and sit in you know, recovery mode and then pass an update. Low chance if you ask me, but not zero, so gotta try it. Oh man. Okay, I need to grab a donor board so that we can find a matching cap. And diaper. All right, I'll be right back. Oh.
No, I thought I found some
S.
sort of looking at a PlayStation, not a
Right, here we go.
PlayStation Slim.
Okay, here's the donor board. Let's check Tiger's area.
I'm not sure.
Looks beautiful. So let's grab a couple of these guys just in case it makes a difference. I really, really doubt it, but let's err on the side of caution. Alright, here we go. Small power management is needed on the 6 plus and up. No, just on the 6S and up. And it's the baseband power management chip. The baseband is required for 6S and up to boot. Ow, hot. I think there's a little bit of a speck on there that I don't really like, but I don't want my dude to blow away. Same kind of thing. There's another speck I don't like of the old dude. Oh, waste of time. Hey there, screw bracket. Waste of time, waste of time. This repair is wasting time. So we have our two PMID caps back on there. We have our new baseband power management chip. We have our, oh, that's not how TriStar goes, I don't think. I gotta look that up. I think I put TriStar in on the 6 orientation instead of in the 6S. Let me check. Yeah, well, that's good. All right, too much chat. That is a mistake by Jessa. Boom, boom. So let's flip this boat around. Oh. And then it'll either work or not work, and I think that I'll do a kind of a once over look at it, but then that'll be the end of what I would be willing to do on this board. All right. I remember when Mark first did like a 6S TriStar, he was like, I don't have it, it came with none, so he was like, I'll just have to take a guess. Before there were any like schematics or anything for 6S, and just guess that it's the same as it is in the 6. Nope, it is the opposite. Little things, I just stuck that in the trash. All right, so in the 6S, TriStar goes with a dot towards the edge of the board. In the 6 and 6 Plus, TriStar goes with the dot towards this side. All right, let me make sure that I'm not crazy on that. Yeah, edge of the board, that's the dot. All right. Get that sucker on there. And then we'll see if we can connect to iTunes and update. Or maybe it will have enough shit fixed that it will just magically boot. Maybe. Could happen. I know someone from iPad Rehab is in Florida. Is it Mark? It is Mark. Clean desk person like me would have thrown that board against the wall by now. That is pretty funny. I think that's another thing. Clean desk people wouldn't really be able to work on this board at all. Even messy desk people have a hard time. You hear me going like, oh my God. Oh my God. But I agree that, a clean desk person would just be like, absolutely not. There's no chance. So forget it. I'm going to go out on a limb and say clean desk person would be smarter than this, that it's a waste of time. And this is why this has really been in the queue for a long time. That just, I don't want to keep repairable stuff waiting to just waste time on something that's almost certainly not repairable. But on the other hand, if there's a chance I don't like to send it back, it's definitely not. And this one has a chance. Maybe there is a chance that right now that the problem that this board had was the fact that the baseband power management chip just needed to be replaced, or that wasn't soldered on there well if it had been replaced. There's a chance that Tigris itself wasn't soldered on or needed to be replaced. There's a chance that the PMID caps that were missing are required for it to boot. I don't know, I've never tested that. There's a chance that just TriStar was bad, even though it was a replacement TriStar. You know, there's a lot of things that are somewhat of a possibility on this board. So let's kind of review. We've cleaned up our charge port area. This missing coil goes to speaker amp, so we're going to leave it off. These are just some caps. Now, this coil has been nudged around and probably needs to be replaced. Let me just check on that guy. I forget if he's related for charging or not. Let's see. He connects main. Yep, he connects main to Tigris. So that guy is required to send, for charging itself. We'll just leave him alone for now because he is present. All right, all these guys we're not going to really address. Missing caps around here we're not going to address. This is the arc driver coil. We're going to not worry about that. That's always no stuff. These guys look like they've been nudged around a little bit, which when they look all cockeyed like that, that tells me that during shield removal there was just too much heat here, which makes me concerned that the baseband CPU itself has been nudged, in which case, you know, it could then get killed when you connect it to power. But maybe it got away with that, I don't know. Definitely too much heat around here. The QPoet chip is for cell service, and I am 90% sure that you don't need QPoet in the 6S just to boot. So we're going to ignore that. Now, one of these guys, I'm pretty sure this guy is not a cap. Let me look him up real quick. So let's go to ZXW and look up that dude. All right, so we're on the top side of the board over here. Yeah, that guy. All right, so this dude that's missing connects main into the QPoet. All right, so since QPoet isn't even on the board, and we're gonna go with all right, that's not gonna be required for boot, so we'll ignore that for now. All right, so we've talked about everything here. Up here, this seems okay. This is a really bad looking cap here. So let's just, I know these two are on main. I'm not sure about that one. Let me check on that real quick just to see if we need to see if there's a problem with that. Yep, that's also on main. We've already measured main. Main is good, so that can't possibly be a problem right now. The rest of this all looks fine. Backlight area looks fine. And then looking at connectors, we're going to skip camera connector, nobody cares. Home button connector, nobody cares. So what we do care about is image. So looking at this connector here, it seems okay. Let's just check on image, line short, common stuff. All right, that's fine. Backlight is fine. We're going to check on 1V8, not ground. All right, all of that seems fine. Okay, time to test. All right, what is Jessa working on? Jessa is working on a board that somebody stuck on a nightstand, and hey, Dad, just quit working. I don't know why. Yeah, so this is almost certainly a toilet phone, sink phone went in rice, that then went to repair shop, and then went to a board repair shop, came back working for the sake of the phone, which is terrible. But of course, since it was missing tons of stuff, whatever water damage was natively on the board is made at least an order of magnitude worse by sticking it in a cheap ultrasonic cleaner or just leaving it in alcohol for an extended period of time. So this is just a big old train wreck. Why am I doing this video instead of just throwing this away? I don't know. This is a board that is here for data recovery, and the dad asked me if I could do a video to show his daughters what goes into fixing a phone like this. So I said, okay. That was a long time ago, and got to get out of here. So now we are going to see whether or not the slim chance that this phone can actually be recovered can happen. All right, so DC power supply. We've really fixed everything at a hardware standpoint that is clearly, clearly in harm's way. Things that are clearly required for the phone to boot that had physical damage have all been replaced that are not unique to the board. There's extensive board damage all throughout, but we've kind of put our eyes on anything that would be required for it to boot. Fixed all that, so now the phone will either boot up or it will be in its initial presentation was it's in a boot loop, which usually means that there's some sort of data corruption. So we'd have to ask it to be able to pass an update. It's got so much damage, it's unlikely to be able to pass an update. So let's see what it does now. All right, so I'm connecting DC power supply, which is normal here at battery voltage, and I'm gonna see whether or not the phone can respond to a prompt to boot through this dock connector. So can it respond or recognize USB in a prompt to boot? So prompt, prompt, prompt through the dock connector. No response to that, which could be, I would kind of question this dock. I think there's a couple 6S docks in here that might be sketchy. This is the first phone that I've worked on today. Starting off the day great with a bunch of no fixes. I guess that's not true. The first phone I looked at today was another just prior repair attempt botch job where somebody just took off the required EEPROM chip and threw it away. So bad news for that person. All right. Let's look at DC power. Let's see if this dock can make it respond with a prompt to boot. You recognize that? Prompt to boot, buddy? Prompt to boot? Nope, it doesn't recognize that at all, which probably means that 5 volts is not getting from here to the TriStar chip. That's all right. Let's go ahead and see, can you boot with a prompt to boot at the power button? So I'm pressing the power button, power button, power button. And now it's showing it has an Apple logo here, and it's either going to boot or boot loop. All right, so we can show you guys. Boot loop, it is. So, kind of same as before, software corruptions is exactly what we said at the beginning. Oh, there we go with this kind of like weird gray flash. Here we go. Boot loop, boot loop, boot loop. So it's got a boot loop. I'm gonna just kind of put some pressure on the board a little bit just to rule out anything that just kind of has a cold joint. All right, so now we need to get it to go into recovery mode, and then it will either pass or fail update. Such a waste of time. Oh my God, what a waste of time. They're killing me. All right, so let's see. I think I definitely need a known good 6S. All right, let me go on a hunt for that. Known good dock. Let's see, what's this one? That's not gonna work. it can go in recovery mode in this housing. All right, so this is a housing that I expect to be normal. Okay. That's a very rapid change on the DC powers. Why does the touch button look like it's glowing? Touch button. What's touch button? Touch button. Alrighty. Update that puppy. Will do. Alright. I need to like start meditating with some of these repairs. I think there's the number that are exactly like this is just constant, and it's really, 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 really starting to become an annoying problem. All right, so I'm prompting to boot here in this housing. All right, so same kind of boot loop. And now let's see if it can respond to USB for prompt to boot. All right, so I've got it in a housing. So this is really just to get it a dock that I think that it can stand. All right, prompt, prompt, prompt. Do you recognize the dock? It says no. Fantastic. So now we have to find out why the board can't recognize the dock, which sucks. Annoying, 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 annoying. Alrighty, why can't you recognize the dock? Let's go on a hunt. So let's start at, let's try to figure out what does it take for this, for this thing to recognize a dock. Alright, so, you know, let's see, one of these is probably going to be USB in. Nope. Alright, let's look over here. How about you? TriStar connection detect. Yeah, it doesn't seem to register TriStar connection detect at all. So we need to have from, let's see, that test point. Let's see, how would that work? Let's click this resistor. All right, so we need to have this pin working on the charge port, and it has to go through this resistor, and then after that it's going to end up at TriStar itself. And then let's check the other thing, which is TriStar power in comes from 5-volt USB. All right, so let's go back to our board and just check on that. Let's get rid of this, and let's get rid of that. All right, Jessa seems to be doing a lot of rabbit hunting lately. Yeah, that's all we have. No one sends us anything easy. We have 0 repairable things here, so that it just really is fatiguing. You know, it just kind of makes you just want to quit, for sure. I mean, I have everything here. You know, like this. The one I looked at, here's the one I looked at earlier today. You know, data recovery, iPhone 6, sounds great, love iPhone 6 data recovery. You know, here's this one. Oh, look, somebody took off Chestnut. That's, you know, interesting. But look, the VCC main pad there is corroded. Maybe this was just a straight up VCC main short because, you know, it has water damage. Has water damage on a, you know, TriStar power line there, but it's really pretty minor. Yeah, this is the only water damage here is the TriStar line, which is not short, not even backlight, just on main under Chestnut. That right there under here, that's it. Everything else is beautiful. Look, there's like practically no signs of water anywhere else. It just went under Chestnut. That's it. Super easy. So straightforward. Just change Chestnut, done. Wait, what the heck? There's no water back here. Cap missing, audio IC missing, Mason missing, which isn't even on VCC main, makes no sense. Cumulus missing, all of these guys missing. Some of these are resistors that are required, just totally missing for no reason. PMIC missing, look, there was no corrosion under it. That just was a stupid thing to do. And then missing, 1V8 caps around here that are missing. Nobody even bothered to change TriStar, even if it was some kind of a NAND related thing. We're missing all of the 3V0 NAND around here. And then here is the giant deal breaker. Burr, burr, burr. Someone has ripped off the EEPROM required chip and thrown it away. So, not recoverable, waste of time. Done. All right, back to this board. Jessa probably shouldn't stream while just so cranky all the time. Back to this rape. Let's see why. How are we missing the ability to detect, to get our 5 volts into this thing? All right, all of that seems like it would convey 5 volts. Let's see, maybe it's just, there's flux in that connector. Maybe that's easy. Maybe it just can't really snap down in that section. That is a possibility. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna put the dock on and see if we get our 5 volts arriving here at this test point. All right, let's see. All no-fix devices should be sent back to the shops that ruined them with a pound of glitter. I like that. I mean, I really don't know what to do about, oh, look at this, like, let's take off this slid antenna. That's pretty funny. I don't know what to do about the problem of people. I don't care. I couldn't care less if you want to just say, hey, you got a dead phone? Well, I've got some micro-soldering equipment, and if it's dead and you're going to throw it away, why not try to fix it? That is great. That's how you learn. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you have to ask people first, is there data on this that's important to you? Is this something where you're going to throw it away? Or is this something where you're going to really care about the data and you're going to want to send it to a data recovery place? In which case, don't mess with it. Don't make these boards unrecoverable by messing around. And I feel like my entire channel is going to be, look what this idiot did, look what this idiot did, look what this idiot did, which isn't, it's not fun to be like that. It makes you, sounds like an arrogant MFer, when it's like I don't know everything. I learn. I am making mistakes on this. Had to flip TriStar around. I'm certainly not perfect. But I don't have a party on somebody's board when there's data on it that they care about. And I really don't know how to get the community to stop doing that. And part of me kind of feels some guilt about, do I have some responsibility for the content that I put out there that are making people be like, sure, looks easy, let me give it a try. Should I just quit, stop doing YouTube? I don't know. Sometimes it makes you wonder for sure. All right. Okay, we're gonna see whether or not we can get this phone to detect USB or not. Alrighty. Fix it, then send it back with a long screw in the top right. That's really funny. Okay. Alright, so let's wake up the old hand camera. And let's see. Let's see if we can troubleshoot this. All right. Keep doing the content, but paywall it at $30 a month. I guarantee you'll drive away the Please Bro shops. Yeah, then people will just, steal, post. Alright, that's not on there. Get in there. Alright. Okay, which one of these guys do I need to measure to see my 5 volts? Alright, it's the the little dude in the hard to measure spot. All right, so this here, this test point is going to tell me whether or not 5 volts USB is actually getting onto the board. And then after that, it needs to come up over here to this gate, go through the gate, and, oh, I can't click on there. Go through the gate and arrive at TriStar to tell TriStar that it's there. All right, and then we also need to have our connection detect line working, which it doesn't really have a whole lot of ways that can fail, whichever one it was. I forget one of these guys. There it is, TriStar, connection detected. So I need to have connection detected. I don't think I'll be able to measure that with the thing. Oh, that's probably what it was. Look at that. That antenna bracket had slid and probably was touching that test point. So hopefully now it will respond to USB. So that's probably gonna fix that little problem. And then we'll see whether or not it can update, which was the whole big thing from minute 1. All right. Okay, so I think this is probably gonna respond to USB now. Let's find out. All right. Do you respond to USB? Respond. Yes. Yay. So it responds to USB input now. So it understands that I prompted it to boot. Let's see. Same boot loop before. Let's prove that though. So let me actually put it back in this housing because we are going to try to get it to go into recovery and ask this piece of crap to update. It will fail, and then we will officially give up and move on to another rabbit hole. Okay. And these fail shops will only be able to fail for a small amount of time before the public weeds them out on their own. Well, the thing that, I really can't stand, and I always advocate for, like the Adrian Zimmerman that wants to be like, well, let's do like a YouTube channel where we throw shops under the bus. Let's not do that, because what are you going to conclude if you're a consumer when the industry is just, saying, you suck, then don't bother trying to repair anything. And that is what's really sad. This makes me really sad. But the only thing that makes me sadder is for somebody to just take their phone, drop it in the toilet, and just take it immediately to the trash can. I believe that we can do better. I believe that people can just, have common sense. You can learn, you can do stuff, you can, practice. That's all great. And eventually you can have enough expertise that at the local level, you can do amazing repairs. I so believe in people, and I so believe in local repair. I loved, 2 days ago when there was like 3 or 4 local guys that came in, one with a dead 6, left with his data, another guy came in with a searching no service 5C, which is not something that we would repair. But he's on the phone, his dad's in hospice, so I was like, let me just reflow the baseband PMIC just so that it'll turn back on for a little bit so that you can kind of, have a little bit of breathing room to take care of this problem with your dad. No charge, and like that kind of stuff is great. I want to see that happening, but you gotta stop raping people's data phones. Stop raping people's data phones. All right, so now it does respond to USB, and so it's still going to be boot loopy. So let's just kind of prove that. All right, so it's going to keep boot looping. Boot loop, boot loop, boot loop. Okay, so next stop is rule out software. Now that we've ruled out every feasible to rule out hardware reason for this phone to have a software corruption. So now we're going to just say, can you now update, since we've kind of done that. I don't know if it'll be able to or not. All right, low battery. Kind of interested to see, can it pull normal charging current? Let's ask it. Let's ask it. Now, a phone that has a software corruption will sometimes pull low charging current as if it were in like DFU mode. But a phone that doesn't know, like that it's boot looping, sometimes can pull normal current just for a second. But let's just find out what it does just for fun. All right, so it's, look at that. It can charge normally for a second until it boot loops. Look at that. It charges like even on the high side of normal. So the phone can charge. Oh, it came in originally as a not charging solution. There you go. Phone is charging. Problem solved. Send invoice done. All right. So this is going to charge up until it can attempt to boot, and then it'll sit there in boot loop. So let's fast forward through that and give it a charged battery so that we can get past this software step. All right. Let's see. Ooh. Let's see if it can go in recovery mode. So I'm booting it. I stuck a new battery in there. All right, and so now it is on battery and it has booted to recovery mode. So now we can finally do what we've been trying to do since minute 1. Watch this phone fail, update, give up. Okay, so here we go. It is detected by iTunes. I'm gonna redo that. All right. Update. Next, agree, and it is going to update, at least in 30. All right, so iTunes is updating the sucker. Let's see. Let's take you guys over here to watch this thing fail. I was eagerly awaiting what you will do about the iPhone 6 logic board, but you did the right thing when you diagnosed not recoverable. Thumbs up for the true scientist. Eagerly awaiting what you will do about the iPhone 6 logic board? Which one? The one with the ripped off EEPROM? Was that you? Oh. Let's go to display, and you guys can watch the internet struggle to download this. All right, so we're downloading. Oh, let's play guess what error this is going to have. Let's guess. I'm gonna guess that it's going to be error 9. That's gonna be my guess. Jessa, do you prefer to use iTunes or 3U tools for things like updating? Well, iTunes for sure. I suppose the fact that you're using iTunes answers that. Yes. All right. Good sign. Has serial. We'll see. Let's have you guys guess what error. All right. We got error code 3 as a guess. Error code 1. You know what's going to suck is if it's -1. That's going to suck because -1 is some kind of baseband problem, which could then, in theory, prompt you to do things like put back on QPoet and it's missing coil and, you know, reball the baseband CPU and try to kind of solve all of that, you know, blardy-blar. But personally, you know, I am just not up for that. This could go on to somebody else if they want to put more time into it. Gabriel's going with me, error 9. Paul Daniel says error 26. That's a good guess. Error 26 is a good one. Could be. We're going to find out. The only one that I really don't want it to be is -1, because -1 is implies that it's, kind of not necessarily a deal breaker, but it's a deal breaker for me. I'm done with this phone. It was a waste of time from the beginning. It's, only getting time out of me just to demonstrate that yes, girls, iPhone repair is incredibly difficult, and it doesn't have to be. If you get your phone wet, it's no big deal. Go figure out how to, if you get your phone wet, drop it in a toilet, it's okay. Just get some drivers. Get these. Order a screwdriver from iFixit. Go to ifixit.com. Learn how, for your iPhone, to unscrew the screws at the bottom and open it up. And then unscrew the battery. So that is 4 screws total for you to open up your iPhone and disconnect the battery. And then dry it. And then either you have a really good chance that nothing has happened to your phone that's bad. I mean, I've done that to my personal phone dozens of times. I've even intentionally pitched it into water, pick it back up. If you very quickly get your battery disconnected, you've taken the electricity off of the board. Water doesn't hurt a board, it's water plus electricity. So get your battery disconnected and then dry it out. And I would say, I don't know, maybe 60 or 70% of the time, you won't have any problem at all that the water didn't have time to penetrate and really do any damage to the board. But if you have water in there and you don't disconnect your battery and you just shove it in rice or whatever, you're going to have those water droplets find their way to the board where they're going to cause problems. Once you develop a short circuit, so a cap has become a wire, for example, then if you put electricity into the board, it's, by the charger, leaving it on the charger, that's a board killer. Don't do that. Don't do that. All right, let's see. All right, so this phone is error 4013.
That was my guess, and I didn't say it.
That was Chrissy's guess, but she didn't say it, so it doesn't count.
It's the only one I know.
Yes, error 4013, one of the worst errors there are. Error 4013 is the error that means, oh, something's wrong. So error 4013 can be absolutely anything. This board is really head to toe damaged, and the error 4013, if you had to associate it with one thing that is the most typical cause, it would be corruption of the NAND chip itself. So it's one of the NAND errors. So the NAND is the flash memory chip. That's where all of this stuff is written down. So if you have something like a USB flash drive, if you've got a USB flash drive and you plug it into your computer, and every now and then you'll get one where the computer says, I don't recognize this device. Do you want me to format it? And if you say yes, then it'll work just fine. So an iPhone is like, a big USB flash drive, where on the board is a memory chip, the NAND memory chip itself. And if you leave a board with really bad damage like this, with a wet battery, for example, it's going to be collecting little errors all the time. Things are on the fritz all over the place. And those error messages get written down in the flash memory log file. And if you just kind of let it sit like that, like leaving it sitting on chargers, letting it reboot and reboot and reboot and reboot, like if you just let it do that for a really long time, then it ultimately just sort of corrupts the formatting, the structure of the NAND flash memory chip itself, so that even after you correct all those hardware defects like we did in an incredible waste of time, even if you do all that, then it still it has corruption of the memory chip itself. So if you said, all right, forget the data, you could then desolder the chip itself. You could reformat it in a great big difficult big repair, resolder it back on here, and then say go ahead and restore. Forget about the data. Then sometimes it can survive that. Let's get rid of that. All right. Whoa, what is that? Oh, that's the screen. That's pretty cool. All right, so here you go. Can we try reflowing the NAND chips? Absolutely not. That would be the dumbest idea ever. Smack yourself in the face for even saying that, because that is the problem. People putting heat on chips that have underfill. No, you can't reflow a NAND chip ever. No, of course not. That would be the stupidest thing, and it would be the kind of thing people do that generate these piece of shit waste of time boards that kill the rest of us. So no, we're not going to reflow any kind of NAND. All right, at this point it wouldn't hurt. God damn it! Yes, it would! Don't do shit like that! Oh my God, all right. Time for me to quit YouTube for a while. This has been great. This phone, I'm sorry girls, your phone is not recoverable because of widespread, extensive water damage and a series of really bad repair attempts. And that's the end of this.